Backs for family without you? The words landed in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner like a grenade no one else seemed to notice. My mother said it while reaching for the cranberry sauce, her tone so casual she might have been commenting on the weather. Then my father laughed. My brother laughed. My sister laughed. Not nervous laughter, not uncomfortable shifting in chairs. The loud kind. The kind that tells you they've already decided your place. And it isn't at the table. Something strange happened to my hearing. The football game in the background stretched into a low hum. The clink of silverware became distant, almost underwater. I watched my own hand lift my wine glass to my lips and take a slow sip, my body moving on autopilot while my brain struggled to catch up to what had just been confirmed out loud. They had planned a vacation, they had excluded me, and they found it funny. My name is Megan Calloway. I'm 28 and I'm a freelance graphic designer in San Francisco. This is the story of how I stopped paying for people who enjoyed excluding me. I set down my glass with deliberate care, smiled like she'd said something harmless, and pushed my chair back. I didn't argue. I didn't ask for an explanation. I grabbed my coat while they were still laughing and walked out the front door. In my car, I sat in the driveway for a full minute, hands on the steering wheel, watching the glow of the dining room window and listening to the muffled sounds of them having a great time without me. Fine, I thought. If they want a vacation without me, they can have it. What I didn't know yet was that they didn't just want me gone. They wanted my money to pay for it, and they were about to prove exactly how brazen they could be. Back at my apartment that night, I didn't do what people expect. No throwing my phone, no crying into a pillow. I showered, put on clean pajamas, and sat on the edge of my bed with that hollow, buzzing feeling you get after something humiliating happens and you can't stop replaying it. I'd been the dependable one for years. Not the most loved, not the most celebrated, just the most useful. When my brother Derek was between jobs again, I covered him. When my sister Kaylee was hemorrhaging money on wedding expenses, I quietly filled the gaps. A few hundred for flights, a few hundred for upgrades, we'll pay you back. That somehow always turned into, you're doing so well, you'll be fine. I didn't realize how often I'd been trained to swallow it until that Thanksgiving laugh snapped something in me. Around midnight, I opened my banking app and found myself staring at an account I barely thought about anymore. An old checking account from college that my mother Diane had helped me set up. She still had access, just in case. Over the years, I'd kept money there as a cushion, telling myself it was for emergencies. In reality, it was for whatever crisis my family declared urgent enough to become my responsibility. I didn't close it right away. Instead, I quietly moved most of the balance into my personal account and turned on every alert I could find. Any withdrawal, any transfer, any attempt over a certain amount. I wanted to know instantly. Then I checked the family group chat. It was like I'd never existed. Photos of resorts, links to activities, jokes about matching outfits. My mom typing things like "dot. Can't wait for our family trip," with a heart emoji. Kaylee chiming in about a luau. Derek joking about needing a bigger suitcase. No one asked me anything. No one even pretended it was awkward. That's when the hurt shifted into something clearer and colder. They weren't confused about me. They were comfortable without me. So I made a quiet promise. I was done paying for people who enjoyed excluding me. If they wanted, without Megan, I was going to give it to them in a way they couldn't ignore. The next week moved fast. I buried myself in client work, revised brand decks, tried not to replay my mother's voice. Every couple of days, Diane called. I didn't answer. She'd leave sugary voicemails. "Hey, sweetheart, call me back. Miss you, love you." Never once mentioning Thanksgiving. Never once saying sorry. Then, exactly 1 week after Thanksgiving, my phone buzzed with a notification that turned my stomach cold. Banking alert. Withdrawal request pending. Amount: $6,500. I stared at the screen. That's not a mistake. That's not a forgotten subscription. That's a number you choose when you're trying to cover something big. I called the bank immediately. The representative confirmed someone listed as an account holder was attempting a teller withdrawal at a branch near my parents' neighborhood in Los Angeles. She couldn't give me the name for privacy reasons, but she confirmed it was the secondary holder on the account. I didn't need the name. Diane. Suddenly, every detail from the past week clicked. Kaylee's messages about final confirmations, Derek's jokes about upgrades, my mom's upbeat voicemails, even a comment my dad Richard had made in the chat. This trip will be so good for all of us. With the word all doing a lot of work when I wasn't included. She didn't try to transfer a few hundred. She walked into a bank and asked for $6,500 like it was her right. Like she wasn't about to use my money to fund a trip I'd been mocked out of. While I was processing this, my phone buzzed with a new message in the family chat. Kaylee wrote, "We're almost all set, just waiting on one last payment to go through." Then Diane replied with a smiley face, "Don't worry, I'm handling it right now." Handling it with my money after telling me I wasn't family, I asked the bank representative, "What's the fastest way to stop this today?" She explained the withdrawal could be declined if I closed the account immediately. I looked at the pending request on my screen and felt something settle in me. Not fear, decision. Close it, right now, permanently, and open new accounts under my name only. The rep confirmed what that meant. No one else would have access. Any attempt would fail. I told her to do it anyway. Within minutes, she said the words I'd been waiting for. "Okay, Miss Calloway, the account is now closed." Less than a minute later, the alert updated. Withdrawal declined. Request canceled. Then my phone started vibrating like it was possessed. Diane calling. Richard calling. Derek, Kaylee, one after another, like someone had set off an alarm in their living room. I didn't pick up. I opened the family group chat instead, took a screenshot of the declined withdrawal, amount and status visible, and sent it with one sentence: "Pay without me." For a few seconds, the chat went silent. Then the bubbles popped up. Kaylee. "Megan, what is wrong with you?" Derek. "Are you serious right now?" Richard. "Pick up the phone." Diane. "Call me now." Not please. Not can we talk. Orders. I didn't respond. I set my phone face down and finished my work for the day. When I finally checked again, voicemails were stacked like bricks. In the first one, Diane was crying, theatrical and heavy. In the next, she was furious, accusing me of humiliating her. Then sweet again, saying we could fix this. I knew the pattern. They'd call me ungrateful. They'd say it was a temporary loan. They'd say family helps family. They'd ignore the part where they decided I wasn't family when it came to a seat on the plane. So I moved into protection mode. I updated every autopay tied to that old account. I made sure my savings were untouchable. I froze my credit with all 3 bureaus. I emailed myself copies of every screenshot so nothing could disappear. I also called a lawyer I'd consulted before on a contract dispute. She agreed to draft a cease and desist and have it ready by the next day. Then I did something that felt small but mattered. I left my apartment, walked through Golden Gate Park, and let the cold air cut through the adrenaline. I passed joggers and couples holding hands, normal people living normal lives, and it reminded me that my family's drama wasn't the center of the world unless I let it be. About an hour into my walk near the edge of the park, I sat down on a cold bench and pulled out my phone. I opened a travel app and booked a solo trip for the exact same week they were supposed to leave. Not Hawaii. Lake Tahoe. A quiet cabin by the water. I hit confirm before I could talk myself out of it. When I got home, my phone was still blowing up. I sent one final message to the group chat. "You said the vacation was without me. So is the payment. Do not come to my apartment." The next morning, my phone looked like a crime scene. 37 missed calls, a wall of texts, voicemails stacked so high I didn't bother listening. I checked the group chat. Diane had written a long message overnight. "Megan, this is a huge misunderstanding. I was just trying to take care of the final payment for the trip. We were going to pay you back as soon as we got home. You know, your brother is going through a hard time and Kaylee has wedding expenses. You didn't have to do this in such a dramatic way." She called stealing dramatic. Richard followed up. "You embarrassed your mother. You made us look bad. That money was for the family. You're being selfish and petty over a joke." A joke. That word again. Like it was all harmless and I was the problem for not laughing. I took screenshots of everything, every message where they admitted they expected to use my money. Then, around 10 p.m., my new door camera notification popped up. Motion detected. They'd driven up from Los Angeles that afternoon. 6 hours of road rage, apparently, because they couldn't reach me by phone. I opened the app and saw them in the hallway outside my door. Diane in her coat, hair perfect, eyes set in that tight expression she wears when she's about to play the victim. Richard behind her with arms crossed, Derek pacing, Kaylee looking irritated like I was inconveniencing her. Diane knocked once, then twice, then started pounding. "Megan, open the door. We need to talk." Richard leaned in. "Stop acting like a child." The pounding got louder. I stood on my side of the door, one hand on the lock, listening to my own breathing. Diane switched tactics. "Megan, sweetheart, please just let us in. We're worried about you." Worried about me. They were worried about resort confirmations and vacation photos. Then Richard raised his voice. "If you don't open this door right now, you're making a huge mistake. You're tearing this family apart." I unlocked the door and opened it. They weren't expecting that. Diane's hand was still raised mid-knock, and for a second, all 4 of them just stared at me. "Come in," I said calmly. "Let's talk." They filed in slowly like they weren't sure if it was a trap. I stayed standing while they arranged themselves in my small living room. Diane already composing her wounded expression. Richard crossing his arms. Derek and Kaylee exchanging looks. "Megan," Diane started, "this has gone way too far. All I did was—" "You walked into a bank," I said, "and attempted to withdraw $6,500 from an account with my money in it to pay for a vacation you told me at Thanksgiving dinner in front of everyone was for family without me." And everyone laughed. "That was a joke," Richard said. "Then why wasn't I on the flight?" Silence. Diane tried again. "We were going to pay you back. We always pay you back." "Name one time. One time in the last 5 years you actually paid me back." More silence. Derek shifted uncomfortably. Kaylee suddenly found my ceiling very interesting. "I've covered Derek 3 times this year," I continued. "I paid for Kaylee's bridal shower deposits. I've sent money for emergencies that somehow always lined up with things you wanted but couldn't afford. And not once did any of you pay me back or even acknowledge it. Instead, I get laughed out of a family dinner, and then you try to drain my account while I'm not looking." "You're being dramatic," Kaylee muttered. I turned to look at her directly. "Kaylee, I have screenshots of you in the group chat writing, 'Just waiting on one last payment to go through,' while Mom was literally at the bank trying to take my money. You knew." Kaylee's face went red. "The difference between me and a bank," I said, "is that a bank would have pressed charges." Diane's eyes went wide. "You wouldn't." "I already have a lawyer. I have a cease and desist ready to send. I have every message, every voicemail, every piece of evidence I need if you push this any further." Richard stepped forward, trying to use his height. "You need to calm down. This is family." "Family," I repeated. "You keep using that word. But when it was time to include me in a vacation, I wasn't family. I was only family when there was a bill to pay. That's not family, Dad. That's a payment plan." The silence in my apartment felt heavy. Diane's lower lip trembled, the start of her performance. "Don't," I said. "I've watched you cry your way out of accountability my entire life. It doesn't work on me anymore." I walked to my front door and opened it. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave. You're not going to come back to my apartment. You're not going to send relatives to guilt me. You're not going to post vague victim stories on Facebook. And you're going to fund your own vacation or cancel it. Either way, that's your problem now, not mine." Diane's face hardened. "If you do this, don't expect to be part of this family again." I met her eyes. "You already told me I wasn't. I'm just finally believing you." They left. Not quietly. There were slammed car doors and angry voices in the hallway, but they left. And when the door clicked shut behind them, I stood in the silence of my own apartment and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. The next morning, my lawyer sent the cease and desist. Diane never acknowledged receiving it, but they stopped showing up. The next week, I heard through the family grapevine that they canceled the trip. Lost deposits, change fees, non-refundable tours. The exact numbers didn't matter as much as the reality behind them. They'd planned a lifestyle they couldn't afford because they were counting on my silence. And when my silence stopped being permission, their perfect family vacation collapsed. My dad emailed me a few days later, an apology, sort of. He said he was sorry for how Thanksgiving went, that he should have stopped it, that he let things get out of control. But he didn't actually stand up to anyone. He just wanted the discomfort to end. And I wasn't responsible for easing their discomfort anymore. I never responded to his email. Derek eventually texted once, months later, asking if I could help with his car payment. I didn't reply. Kaylee got married that spring without inviting me, which was a relief rather than a wound. As for Diane, she sent a birthday card 8 months later with no apology, just thinking of you. I threw it away. These weren't dramatic endings. They were simply the natural result of me refusing to pretend nothing had happened. That same week after the confrontation, I drove to Lake Tahoe alone. The first morning I woke up there, the air was so cold it felt sharp in my lungs. The lake looked like glass under a pale sky. I grabbed coffee, took a slow walk, and listened to snow crunch under my boots. No shouting, no guilt trips, no watching my words so someone else wouldn't explode. Just quiet, just me. I realized I'd spent years confusing peace with abandonment. I thought if I wasn't holding my family together, I was failing. But standing there by the lake, watching sunrise spill over the mountains, I understood. I wasn't the glue. I was the cushion. I was what made their bad choices feel softer. And the second I removed myself, they had to feel the impact of their own behavior. That's the part people don't talk about. Boundaries don't just protect you. They expose what other people were depending on you to tolerate. When you stop tolerating it, they call you selfish, dramatic, cold. Not because you changed, because the arrangement changed. You stopped being easy to use. When I got back to San Francisco, my life didn't magically become perfect, but it became honest. My money stayed mine, my time stayed mine, my peace stayed mine. If you're listening to this and you've ever been told you're not really family, unless you're paying, unless you're obeying, unless you're staying quiet, hear me clearly. You are not cruel for protecting yourself. You are not ungrateful for saying no. You are not dramatic for refusing to be drained. The core lesson I learned is simple, but it changed everything. Access is earned, even for parents, especially for parents. Money is not love. Silence is not consent. And the moment someone laughs while pushing you out of the room, you are allowed to close the door behind you and choose a life where you are not a punchline. In the end, my mom got exactly what she asked for at Thanksgiving, a vacation without me. And for the first time in my life, that finally included my wallet, my energy, and my future. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles. Zero cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.